Hi friends, David McLeod here, founder of The Magic of I Am. Thanks for joining me here today. We all love stories. Stories help us to share our experiences with each other, and this in turn helps us to see each other more clearly and more fully. Stories also help us to encapsulate and share ideas or teach concepts. Stories are powerful tools that help us to communicate in many different ways. Sometimes, however, we can get attached to our stories, and this can lead to disempowering results. Let me give you an example. When I was about 3 years old, my mother said to me, "I know you better than you know yourself." Now, she didn't say this maliciously, but it still had an incredible impact on me. Since this statement was coming from my mother, someone I trusted to always tell me the truth, I believed it. I accepted it as gospel truth. And so I began to look to my mother, not only to help me understand who I really was, but also to tell me what I wanted and needed. But that wasn't all. It didn't stop there. Over the years, without my mother's help or direction, I evolved an internal story that not only did my mother know me better than I knew myself, but so did everyone else in my life. So I started looking outside myself for all my answers, and in the process, I essentially cut off my own intuition and didn't trust myself to know what to do or how to be. Well, as time passed, I forgot about the 8 words that my mother had said to me, but the impact of those 8 words continued to affect me. Of course, I noticed that other people in my life seemed to be able to declare what they wanted and needed. They seemed to be able to know from somewhere inside themselves how to act and how to be. So a whole new chapter began to develop in my story. I was broken because I had to get my answers from outside myself. Over time, as this cycle continued and I kept on relying on others for my answers, resentment and anger grew within me. And eventually, this dysfunctional energy started coming out in ways that threatened to hurt the people around me. Okay, so I think you've probably heard much or at least some of this story before, so I'm not going to belabor the subject. Suffice to say that I eventually realized that I needed to do something to change my thinking. For me, it took quite a few years to unravel the effects of a story that I had created about myself, a story that had completely disempowered me. It took a few more years after I unraveled the story to remember the simple, unintentional, and maybe even innocent message my mother had given me that had started the whole process in the first place. But the big lesson I learned throughout that whole process is that I, and only I, am the writer of my own story. Because of that, I can rewrite my story anytime I want to. You have the same power too. While your story is a narrative about where you are now and how you got here, and I'm sure it's full of lessons that the whole world can benefit from, remember that you are not your story. You are merely the author of it. So may your story always reflect the truth of who you are right now, and may you continue to add to your story moment by moment. Blessings on your journey.